Tony Quant from WHOATV here alongside Paul Hennessy from ATAK Promotion. So Paul, we're just a month away from the big London show, Bellator 158. Just starting things off, obviously this week kicked off with some very bad news for, you know, not just the show but for combat sports in the passing of Kimbo Slice. Can you just talk us through how that's affected the sort of atmosphere around the team, and, you know, was there any thought to cancelling the show following the news?
Obviously the news came as a great shock when we got the call to say he passed away, because we were actually expecting him to arrive in London on Wednesday, and we set up a press junket for him, a press conference. You know, he was looking forward to visiting London, and it was the last thing we expected, and it came as most of the team were pretty shocked. It took a few hours, most of the day, for us to regroup. It was probably the next day before we started talking about seriously how we were going to go forward. But I think we're always of the mind that the show must go on. I mean, if you're a promoter or any promoter, it's always like, you know, you look at, you know, we were shocked and devastated by his tragic death. And but, you know, when we regrouped and thought about it, we're going to carry on with the show, you know.
And talking to the show going on then, so, you know, there's been a lot of names branded around as to who's going to step up and fight James Thompson on late notice. So are you able to give us any of those names who have contacted you, and are any of them from outside of the promotion?
Yeah, first of all, obviously we're going to look at who's on the Bellator roster. And we reached out to obviously some of the bigger names on the roster. You know, we reached out to Tito, who's going to come to London anyway. He's going to be part of the Fan Fest. He will be here on the 16th of July. Rampage Jackson has shown an interest. You know, that's part of the roster. But we also reached out to people who are not on the roster. We reached out to Roger Gracie, because he's London based. He had a great fight recently. I think there might be some contractual issues there, but he would have been interested. And also Pudzianowski, if I'm pronouncing it right, the Polish former world's strongest man. We're reaching out to his people as well. He's shown an interest. So, you know, but between contacting these people and cutting a deal, you know, it's only been a few days. We're still working on that.
Yeah. But, I mean, as of now, James is still on the card. That fight you are still actively seeking a replacement for, and that will be the headline fight?
The card is in flux. I mean, we can't, you know, unless we find a viable opponent for him, you know, it's like the card is still in flux. As you can see, yesterday we announced different opponents for Michael Page and Paul Daly. Yeah. So Daly's fighting Lima and Page is fighting Santos. We think those are much better fights in terms of the actual fight than we had originally. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, everybody says, oh, Kosek's a wrestler, he's going to try and hold Paul down. Is Paul going to be able to knock him out? But we know that pretty much Douglas Lima's going to have a fight with Paul. He's going to stand in front of him. So I think the fans got a better fight. Actual fight. They might not have the big name appeal of Koscheck and the history of the rematch and what happened before between him and Paul, but I think technically they got a better fight, a more entertaining fight. You know, someone for sure is going to get knocked out. You know.
And sort of moving down the card a bit, there's another name that's sort of very big in MMA, and that's Alex Reid, who's been set to make his return to the cage at Bellator 158. Have we got an opponent yet for Alex? I mean, obviously we're only just over a month away. Are you able to give us any info on that?
We've been in negotiation with a few guys. There was a big queue. I mean, there was a big queue for Alex. A lot of younger guys wanted to fight him, but, you know, Alex is not the fighter he was. We're not going to put him in with a young lion. So we're really close to signing a guy to fight Alex. He's not signed the bout agreement. We'll put it this way, the bout agreement's gone out. It's not been returned, so I can't really say who he's going to fight, because until the agreement's signed, you know, it's not. We couldn't say that, because it gives the guy a chance to renegotiate if we announce it before he signs. So, you know, I can't give a name. But, you know, I can say it's not an English guy. He's not fighting anyone from the UK, even though there's a big queue. I know there's going to be a lot of unhappy UK fighters now. But we're going to be flying in his opponent.
From Europe?
I can say Europe, yeah. He's coming from Europe, yeah.
And one other thing as well, sort of looking across the card, obviously you've got a whole host of London-based guys and across the rest of the UK as well, which makes it really exciting for them. You know, they're going to get their friends, family to come down and watch the card and stuff. But there are a few names on the Bellator roster, UK-wise, that are not on the card. The likes of Paul Sass, Rob Sinclair, James Gallagher. What were these guys approached, and why are they not on the card?
Paul Sass has a serious injury. It's probably, it's not sure that he will ever fight again. He has a recurring shoulder injury that just not really, not going away. Let's put it that way. So that puts that one to bed. Jamie Gallagher has only recently signed and was scheduled to fight for Bama in June. That show has been rescheduled. It's probably likely that he will make his debut in America in August or September. He was never scheduled for this card because of the June fight he had that was supposed to be at the Free Arena in Dublin. So we never really scheduled him, and it's a bit difficult to shoehorn him in after that was cancelled. So he'll be making his debut in America as far as we know. And what was the other person you mentioned?
The other person, Rob Sinclair, as well.
We were into discussions with Rob Sinclair, but then it didn't kind of work out with the opponent. That we had a few things, and we had a whole list of guys, for the undercard. And as we were working our way through the list, some fights made sense and some didn't. And if we couldn't get the right opponent for the right guy, we would just look for another fight. And we had a very long list, a very long queue of guys. Which is great that so many fighters wanted to fight on the card. It was great for us to have a choice, and we just couldn't get the match that made sense for that fight, so we went with what we had.
And one of the names that's been branded around a lot online, there was a lot of discussion as to why he isn't featured on the card, was Saul Rogers. Now, obviously he's just come off of a big reality TV show with the UFC. He's a very well-known fighter in the sort of north of England anyway. Was Saul approached, and can you talk to us about why he wasn't on the card?
Yeah, Saul was approached. I don't want to get into why he's not on the card because there's some contractual issues. I don't really want to discuss why he's not on the card, but he was approached to fight on the card. We did have an interest in putting him on the card, but it didn't really work out. You know what I mean? There were some issues with, let's say, there were contractual issues.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And one other thing I'd just like to sort of question you about is the sort of whole promotion of the show itself. There was a lot of, the show was initially announced, then things went very quiet from both the promotion and the fighters, and nothing was really announced. And then all of a sudden there was a lot of fighters having to self-promote their fights, and you sort of heard a few guys like Spencer Hewitt was announced himself before it even officially been announced. Can you sort of talk us through that sort of happened and what you guys would do in the future?
The marketing that we did for this event focused on the main card. All our marketing, unfortunately, focused on Kimbo Slice, focused on Paul Daly and all those guys. So all our marketing assets, including TV commercials, radio commercials. Don't forget, we started broadcasting TV commercials last Saturday, which we've had to pull from the air. The undercard fighters wouldn't have been part of the main card and wouldn't have been featured in most of the marketing that we were doing. In saying that, some of the guys, they will complain about that, but they won't send us a usable image. So we were waiting some time to get images from the fighters that we could use in promotional materials, because our promotional materials are high end, and they were sending us pictures they'd taken with their phone in front of the fireplace or whatever, you know what I mean? So we just couldn't use a lot of the stuff. And now you'll find there's a lot of marketing materials out there, and you will find this is the point. Our marketing was planned, so we would push the main card first and the main events, and then work down the card. You'll find the undercard guys appearing in the local newspapers, doing radio interviews. What's her name is being probably a lot of the guys. I think Chase Morton's doing an interview with the Sun today, and the other guys are all starting to get picked up. But most of our focus was on the main card. Like I said, if it wasn't for the tragic passing of Kimbo Slice, you would have seen his face on every newspaper, a lot of TV screens, and on the radio. You would have been hearing him on the radio all this week, but unfortunately that's not happened. So basically we got to scrap every marketing asset we've got, including TV commercials, radios, every poster, even the stuff that's in the building here, and start from scratch, which has got ongoing now.
Yeah, and just a few weeks out, that can't be good for anyone. And you sort of mentioned about the big names and stuff you're bringing in for the attraction. Can you tell us who's going to be at Fight Week in the lead up, and can you give us any more info on that? You mentioned Tito and the likes.
Absolutely. I mean, in the public areas in the Dome, there will be, during the 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be the Strength and Combat Show, the SENI show, the martial arts exhibition. So there's going to be lots of things going on, including like the Abu Dhabi European Open, other, I think there's some Thai boxing, amateur Thai boxing championships, lots of stuff going on during the 2 days. But we're also bringing the Bellator Fan Fest, which will include Fedor. He will definitely be here, and Tito Ortiz, and some other fighters. Probably, God, his name's gone straight out of my head. Davis, the wrestler. Phil Davis is talking about coming here. And we'll be doing like meet and greets. You can buy like a Bellator experience ticket, can get you to all the attractions and also the meet and greets. And to meet with the stars, autographs, photo sessions. We'll be doing like Q&As. Even you'll get a chance to speak to Scott Coker on Sunday. He's going to do a Q&A after the event, so people will get a chance to speak to him directly and ask questions. We're bringing a whole thing. It's going to be an experience the whole weekend. So it's not just a live show. You're going to meet a lot of stars, and we think there's going to be some legends walking around inside the Dome over the 2 days, for sure.
And what have you made of the reaction of the show being announced and stuff from a promoter's perspective? Have you taken the good and the negative, and sort of where are you getting to in terms of sort of feedback and what you could possibly do next if there's to be another London show?
First of all, we couldn't announce due to some contractual arrangements with the venue. We couldn't announce till April, even though we'd booked the venue in December. We couldn't announce till April because of another MMA promotion being in February, and there's a 45-day no announcement. That's why our announcement was later than people should imagine. But it still gives you 90 days to promote, which is enough if you're good at your job. The response has been really good, actually. We're really pleased with the response. Even the response after the announcement, the Kimbo announcement, we checked how many people phoned up to ask for a refund, and we're talking about literally a handful, and we sold a lot of tickets. So the fans are happy. They obviously trust us to deliver a good card. I think they're happy with the changes with the daily and the page fights. We just got to add some more interest. We're working hard to bring another exciting fight to the card, and we always say this is an experience. It's a Bellator experience. It's going to be a Bellator show. The president of Spike TV, Kevin Kay, said, "Look, we're bringing all the bells and all the whistles, to London. So it's going to be a great show. Please bear with us. We've had a tragic circumstance. We're working around it. We're going to still deliver a great show."
And if there's anyone at home sort of watching this and sitting on the fence at the minute, sort of thinking, should I bother coming out, or should I watch it the week after on TV? What would you sort of recommend to them to get them to come along? What's the real sort of selling point for this show?
Buy a ticket, man. It's going to be historical. It's the first one. Never miss the first one. You know what I mean? It's the first time Bellator's come to London. It's going to be historical. The fights are going to be great. Buy a ticket. You can't beat the live experience. Ask anyone who's been to a live fight show. I can create a fight fan like that. Just give him a ringside seat. As soon as he's seen it, he's a fan. Do you know what I mean? So, guys, buy a ticket. Come and watch it. That you cannot beat the live experience.